How is everybody? Yeah, good. Good. Okay, so tonight, for people who want to take refuge and 5 precepts, we'll do that at 7 o'clock in the chapel downstairs. Okay. Does anybody have questions about that need to be answered first? Yes?
Yeah, I would like to take the 5 precepts, but for the part that intoxicated using things, I am afraid that for the alcohol part, if in the medication or something that someone give it to me, but I don't know what they put in.
You mean like if you take medicine that has alcohol in it?
Yes.
Yeah. One thing that you could do is you put the drops in some hot water and wait a little bit. The alcohol absorbs and you take the medicine.
And if I go somewhere and they give me food with alcohol or something in there that I don't know.
Oh, so they've cooked with alcohol?
Sometimes my family make dessert or something.
Yeah.
Or
then
pasta.
If it's been cooked, the alcohol has absorbed, is not there. If it's a cooked dish. If it's a dish that hasn't been cooked, so that the alcohol is active, then you just say, no, thank you. I don't feel like eating that.
Thank you.
So one thing I thought to say, because we've been going through this section in Letter to a Friend, all about the 8 worldly concerns and, abandoning attachment, or at least subduing it. We can't abandon it completely. And so some people may get the idea that means if you're going to be a Buddhist, you can't have any fun. Okay? And, you can't you can't do this, and you can't do that, and anything you like, you're attached to, so you just have to forget it. You can't even eat anymore because you're so attached to food, and, you can't talk to your friends because you're attached to them, and, no more football, no more golf, no more shopping at Macy's, no more, it's like life is a drag. You are so miserable as a Buddhist. Okay. Do we look like a miserable group of people here? Yeah? Do the nuns here look like they're suffering terribly and very unhappy? Yeah, we can't go to the beauty shop and have our hair done, or our nails done, or have a pedicure, or, really, I really miss going shopping, Boy. Yeah, my poor mom, she had the wrong daughter. Not the wrong daughter, but, she wanted a daughter who liked to do certain things, and luckily my sister filled that spot. Okay. But, like I explained earlier on, we're not giving up the objects. We're maybe taking space from the objects so we can work on our mind, so we can abandon the attachment, or not abandon the attachment, subdue the attachment. And actually, without the attachment, you're happier. So it was that example of the itch. It feels good to scratch when you have an itch, but it would be better not to have the itch. Okay. So in the same way, you are able to enjoy things. And then when that is over, you don't pine after it. You don't think, when is it going to happen again? I want it. I want more. I want better. Your mind is not disturbed. You enjoy it when it's there. And when it's not there, you're okay. Okay? So it's a new way of relating things that actually enables you to enjoy things more, because so often when we are enjoying something, our mind is thinking about the future and how we're going to get it. Okay? And you say, no, I'm in the present moment, enjoying this. Yeah, when you eat, how much do you really taste your food? And how much are you thinking about, especially in this kind of system where you have to go back and get seconds, and there's a lot of other people eating too? So how much, when you're eating your first bowl, are you thinking about, eating quickly so you can go back and get seconds before anybody else does? Yeah. Or when you're eating your main thing and there's ice cream for dessert, how are you really tasting your main dish? Or are you thinking, I better eat quickly so I can get the ice cream because the ice cream goes really fast and then I won't get any? Yeah. Yeah. And the not getting any is really suffering. Yeah. Tremendous suffering. So, without the craving, we're just so much more easygoing about things, not so worried about it, getting more, getting better, getting it before somebody else does. You want to, get a promotion in your job. If you get it, good. If you don't get it, that's good too. Okay? It's like I said before, if you get the promotion, then you have longer working hours. Yeah, do you really want to work longer? Yeah, I mean, promotions entail that, don't they? Promotions don't mean fewer working hours. It means more. Yeah. So you don't get the promotion. Actually, in some ways, that's even better. You have more spare time, more free time. Okay. So, you plan a holiday on the beach and then there's a tsunami instead, or there's high winds, or, how many people planned holidays to come here and then it's like 105 degrees and you can't do what you wanted. You were going to go out into the national forest and, forget it. Then, your mind is okay. It's not like, oh, I look forward to that so much. Now I don't have it. Oh, my vacation's ruined. No, you can't do that. So you find something else to do. And your mind is equally happy doing something else. Instead of always thinking, I need to do this to be happy. I need to be with this person to be happy. Not anybody else. Only this person, So there's how many billions? Over 7 billion human beings on this planet. And we say, I can only be happy when I'm with one of them. Yeah. That really narrows your opportunity to enjoy other living beings and learn from them. Okay? So, so don't think that giving up attachment means that your life is boring, you can't have fun, you're miserable all the time. Actually, it's nicer. Yeah. And it's, if you look at what we do here, we have a lot of fun. Especially at the end of retreats, we do skits. This retreat, we haven't planned a skit thing. Yeah, we usually don't do at the end of the 1 week retreat, but some retreats, we'll do skits at the end. And those are really fun, because we make fun of ourselves. And, we're not going to sing for them, are we? No. Okay. Oh, you can do your banjo one. It goes very well with the thing of the body. Yeah. So, Okay, so I wanted to make that point very clear. Yeah, otherwise, if you look at His Holiness the Dalai Lama, some of you, watched the thing the other night. Does he look like a miserable person who doesn't have any fun? So, so it takes some time to get used to a different way of thinking and being, and a different way of appreciating the people and things in your environment. Yeah. So that instead of appreciating them with a clinging mind because they bring me happiness, we begin to appreciate other living beings for their kindness, even because we've benefited from whatever they're doing, even though they didn't necessarily do it for us in particular. Okay? So we begin to appreciate the work of a lot of people that we wouldn't have appreciated before. And we start reaching out and being friendly to those people. And that really changes our experience. Yeah. So when you go to the supermarket, instead of the mind going, okay, I have my list of this, and also the cookie counter, and also the pie counter, and the ice cream. And, I'm hungry, so I'll get a few extra things that I like too. And I'm going to get in there and get out of there. And so you rush, you pick up your things, you're standing in your line, you're impatient. Why don't they have more checkout people? I want to get out of here and go home. And you're miserable in the whole experience. Yeah. Because your mind is all wanting to be somewhere else and have something else and be around other people. It's like, oh, I'm standing behind this person with a crying baby in a line, and then they can't find their credit card to pay the bill, and I'm sitting here waiting. Okay. So you can do that. Yeah. And, we don't say hello to all the people who stock the floors. Yeah. Just stock the shelves, They're just supposed to have what we want on those shelves when we want it. And, during the COVID, when there was no toilet paper on the toilet paper shelf, we complained, and they should get the toilet paper out there ASAP when it arrives. Okay. And then we're not very polite to any of those people around us. Whereas, so that's coming from the mind that's completely self-centered according to what I want, what I like. It's our old slogan, I want what I want when I want it. Yeah? And the world owes it to me. But when you start to change how you relate to people and things, and you drop the attachment, you go in the supermarket and it's like, wow, where did all of this food come from? Oh, there were people who grew it. There were people who, brought it. Some of it was processed. There were people who did that. There were the truckers who brought it to the store. There are the people who stocked the shelves. There are the bookkeepers sitting in some office, tallying what comes in the store and what goes out. And there's all the cashiers, and, there's all these people whose efforts in life make it possible for me to just come in here, and there's all the things I want that I like, and I can just pick them up right there, buzz through a line, and go home and enjoy. I don't have to grow the food myself. I don't have to, do all this other stuff. Other people are doing it for me. And, I just trade I give them a plastic card and I get the food. I was like, what's better than that? All these people who are so kind, and who made my car so that I could get to the grocery store to buy all these things, and, who cut down the trees or worked at the recycling plant to make the bags that I put my groceries in, and who made the roads that I drive on to get from my home to the grocery store. And then you realize, your whole life is sitting there in the middle of, the kindness of countless living beings. Yeah. Without whose help we wouldn't be able to do what we were doing. Yeah. And then part of the mind says, but, they're not doing it for me. They're doing it so they could get paid. Well, we're not talking about their motivation here. Yeah. We talk about our motivation. Yeah. But talking about them, it doesn't matter what their motivation is. The fact is, if they weren't doing whatever work they did in society, we would suffer. And we wouldn't have the ease with things that we have. Yeah, and that's the bottom line. So when you spend some time in your meditation, you take one object and you start to think of all the people involved in making that object and the people involved in your being able to get that object and use it. You keep going back and back and back, and it's just, we're so, dependent on other living beings. I think more so than any other time in human history, we're dependent on others. And then this feeling of gratitude comes in your heart. And then when you look at people, you look at them different and you see kindness in them. When you're on the highway and you have to stop because people are doing road work, you don't complain because you're the one that they're doing that's going to benefit from them doing the road work. And so then when you start to move again, you stop and you thank them. Yeah. How often do road workers get thanked by the people who ride on the roads? And how often do people swear at them? Yeah. So, also the garbage people, the garbage collectors. Have you ever thanked your garbage collector? Well, garbage collectors are extremely important in society. Yeah. Extremely important. And we need to thank them and appreciate them. Because I was once in a city, I was in Tel Aviv when the garbage collectors went on strike. You don't want to be in a big city when the garbage collectors are on strike. It is horrible. Yeah, you just have piles of garbage stacked up on the street. It's unsanitary. It smells. Yeah. But who thinks of thanking the garbage collectors or maybe giving them more money for their work? Okay, so this kind of thing, really, this way of contemplating the kindness of others is very important, and it results in us having a feeling of connection to everybody and also a lot of joy with whoever we meet. And then it doesn't matter so much if they, vote for somebody you don't vote for, or if they have a different opinion about something than you do. You can still talk to them and have a good relationship. Yeah. Our neighbor down the hill is a good example. Yeah. I've never talked about politics with him. I noticed he has a Trump flag. I'm not going to talk politics with him, but we get along very well. Yeah. And he has these two beautiful dogs that I really love. And one of the dogs had puppies, and we talk about the puppies. And, and one of his, he has, two cows. Maybe you've seen when you've walked down the road. And, mama cow, her name is Annie. She had a baby. And so we talk about, the baby cow. And, we get along great. Yeah. So, these were the people that we had to ask, kind of talk to about the firecrackers, which you did so skillfully. Yeah. And, you just find a way to talk about something that is interesting to both of you, and you make a connection with people instead of what you do is you make a habit of seeing kindness, instead of a habit of, well, they are, a blah, 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 and I don't like those people. So, through and through, there's nothing we can get along on. That's not true. Okay. When we first moved here, we had to redo the septic system behind Ananda, the building here. So this guy came up to work on the leach field, and I thought, I'm going to go out and talk to this guy, get to know people in this area. And so we started talking, and he told me about the time his dogs were barking very loudly. And so the time the sheriff came up to his house to kind of, said, can you, a neighbor said something, can you, keep your dogs kind of quiet and, whatever. And this guy told me, he said, I told the sheriff, if he comes on my property again, I'm going to take out my guns and get him. He was a real libertarian. It's like, no sheriff's coming on my property telling me what to do. So I didn't gasp. I didn't faint. I didn't go, oh my God, is he going to come here with a gun? We just kept talking. And then we started talking about one of his kids were in school, and how he would go to the PTA meetings. He was very active in his kids' education. So we started talking about how kids need their parents' participation in their education, and da-da-da-da-da-da. We had a very nice discussion about that. Yeah. So it's good. Give yourself the assignment to talk to somebody that you wouldn't usually talk to, and find something that you can talk to that person about, that you're both interested in, and try and make a connection. So, this kind of practice, you do it in your meditation to really appreciate people, and then you practice it in your daily life, and then you see the effect it has on you. Okay. So, I say this because a lot of people feel if I give, if I give up the objects of attachment, my life is going to be so dead and boring. And it's not that way at all. Okay, that was again the introduction. Shorter this time. So let's do the visualization. Okay, so spend a few minutes setting up the visualization and thinking of the kindness of all the sentient beings, that you're visualizing around you. And don't make them one kind of blob of amorphous sentient beings, but think of, individuals and what they do. That makes it much more alive for you. And then thinking of the kindness of all these beings and the fact that they have not encountered the path to liberation, to full awakening. So they want happiness and not suffering, but they don't really know how to create the causes of happiness and avoid the causes of suffering. And yet they're so kind, and our whole lives depend on them. And so from that, develop a strong sense of compassion, not just wishing them to be free of misery, but wanting to actively engage in that process, just as they have actively engaged in the process of benefiting us. And to benefit them in the greatest way, then we need to purify our mind, gain all the realizations of the path, develop these very unique abilities that only fully awakened ones have. And so we generate the bodhicitta intention, the aspiration to attain full awakening, for the purpose of being of great benefit to all living beings. And then, motivated by that intention, we listen to teachings, we do our practice, we do everything we do in our daily lives. And we imagine leading all these beings to the path to full awakening, which starts with taking refuge in the three jewels. So I thought, since we've kind of gone through the sadhana, and the dedication verses, we've been chanting, every time, so I hope you're getting to think about them, that I would talk a little bit about the medicine Buddha himself in terms of the unshakable resolves that he made while still a bodhisattva before he became a Buddha. Because on the path to awakening, if you're following the Bodhisattva path, there's a particular stage where you make, some people translate it as vows. I like to call it an unshakable resolve, okay? A really firm resolve to do something. And so these bodhisattvas usually frame it in the sense of, when I become enlightened, I will do X, Y, and Z. Or sometimes they'll frame it in, when I become enlightened, if I don't do X, Y, and Z, may I not become enlightened. Okay, so there's different ways that they frame it. But it's very interesting to see the kinds of things that different people intentions they generate on the Bodhisattva path about specific ways in which they want to be of service to other living beings. So, Chenrezig has his vows, and Medicine Buddha has his, and Tara has hers, and, Amitabha has his. So these are coming from the one here. It's the Sutra on the merits of the fundamental vows, or the fundamental unshakable resolves of the Master of Healing, the Lapis Lazuli Radiance Tathagata. So these are the unshakable resolves, or the vows that he made as a bodhisattva. So it's taking place. This is extracted from the Sutra on the Medicine Buddha. So at that point, in the Sutra, the Buddha told Manjushri, if you go eastward beyond as many Buddha fields as there are 10 times the number of grains of sand in the Ganges River, that means a lot, okay, you will find a realm known as pure lapis lazuli. The Buddha there is known as Master of Healing, the Lapis Lazuli Radiance Tathagata, Arhat, perfectly awakened one, perfect in mind and deed, well gone, he who knows the world, unsurpassed being, tamer of the passions, teacher of gods and humans, Buddha, Lord, and Lord. Okay, so those are the same epithets that we recite, slightly different translation, but the first prayer we do to the Buddha, and so all those epithets have meaning. If you want to know the meaning of those epithets, they are in Following the Buddha's Footsteps. Okay, that's volume 4 of the Library of Wisdom and Compassion. And then the sutra continues, Manjushri, when the Buddha, Lord, Master of Healing, the Lapis Lazuli Radiance Tathagata, first set out on the Bodhisattva Path, he made 12 vows to enable all sentient beings to obtain what they seek. Okay, so when he first entered on the Bodhisattva Path, this is what he promised. So the first great vow, or the first unshakable resolve. I vow that when I attain unexcelled, complete awakening in a future age, a radiant light will blaze forth from my body. It will brilliantly illumine limitless, countless, boundless realms. This body will be excellently adorned with the 32 signs of a great person and the 80 marks. I will cause all sentient beings to wholly resemble me. Okay, so this first vow that he's saying is he's going to attain the body of a fully awakened one. Okay, so the body of there's different bodies of fully awakened ones. There's some bodies that appear in the Pure Lands where the Arya Bodhisattvas go and listen to teachings. There's other bodies that appear in our realms for us ordinary beings. Okay, but he wants to have a body that's blazing with light. So, and has these 32 signs and 80 marks. This is something from ancient Indian culture about how you recognize a holy being. Yeah, and if you want to have a list of those, I think they're also in Following in the Buddha's Footsteps, and I think they may be in Precious Garland. In what's the name of the book? Practical Ethics and Profound Emptiness. Sorry, I can't remember the titles of the books I wrote. Okay. So then you may say, well, but if the Medicine Buddha appears in our world, I don't see anybody with these 32 signs and, and 80 marks, and, nobody's blue around here, radiating blue light throughout the entire universe, touching all the countless beings. So what's the story? Okay. So this is, here he's talking about, for the high level bodhisattvas who are able to see a Buddha appear in this kind of form. Because us seeing the Buddha, depends on our karma. And how we see the Buddha depends on our karma. How we see the world depends on our karma. So if we have a lot of obscuration, then we can't see the holy beings as they actually are. And in addition, if somebody appeared here in the US with, looking like the medicine Buddha, radiating blue light, throughout the universe, then what's going to happen? He goes into Times Square. Then what? Okay. Then everybody's going to fall down and worship him. Okay. Right? Isn't that what people usually do when they meet somebody extraordinary? They don't think of listening to the teachings. They think of worshiping. Yeah. So then people worship him, but that's not what he wants people to do. He wants them to listen to the teachings so that they can improve the quality of their own lives and be free from cyclic existence. And it would cause a huge commotion. I mean, CNN, can you imagine? CNN, Fox News, they all send out reporters to interview him and where did you get that beautiful blue light? And then, the Pentagon, because now that Pentagon's interested in UFOs, so are you sending out the blue light to contact all those UFOs? Do you have clairvoyant powers? Can you help us develop a good strategy for withdrawing from Afghanistan without the Taliban taking over, and use your psychic powers to keep America supreme? I mean, that's what would happen. It would be total pandemonium, And our favorite person, who likes to be the one noted in the news constantly, would have a fit because nobody would even talk about him. They wouldn't even talk about his orange hair. They'd just be, infatuated with this other guy who's radiating Lapis Lazuli light throughout the universe. Okay, so, the Buddhas don't appear in that way for us because we just can't handle it in a reasonable way. Okay. So but here we see, for the beings who can perceive this is how the medicine Buddha aspires to appear. The second great vow. I vow that when I attain awakening in a future age, my body will be like lapis lazuli within and without, bright with penetrating and flawless purity. The radiance will be of great merit and will be imposing indeed. My body will be an excellent and tranquil dwelling, adorned with an aureole, a halo, like a glowing net, surpassing the sun and moon in its radiance. I will show the dawn to those beings who are completely concealed in darkness, so that they may act in accordance with their desired paths. So, showing the dawn means he will give the teachings according to the dispositions of those beings whose minds are currently obscured and they cannot see things clearly, so that they can then, having the teachings, follow the paths that are suited for their particular kind of disposition and interest. Okay, so we usually talk of three paths or three vehicles. Okay, the hearer or Shravaka vehicle, the solitary realizer vehicle, and then the universal vehicle, or the Mahayana. Okay. So he's saying, again, this is about his body, but he's also saying here what the kinds of things he will do, because the purpose of having that kind of body is to attract and inspire the people so that you can teach them. Yeah. So here too, he is, appealing to the people who have that kind of purified mind, who can see that. The third great vow. I vow that when I attain awakening in a future age, with infinite and boundless insight and skillful means, I shall cause all beings to obtain all that they need. They shall never lack the necessities of life. Okay, so here he's saying, he's going to attain full awakening with infinite and boundless insight. So the wisdom that understands emptiness, that insight wisdom that is supported by serenity, or you could say samadhi, perfect concentration that is focused on the nature of reality. So he wants to have that realization, plus skillful means. So he knows how to teach different beings, again, according to what they need. And so by teaching and appearing in this way and helping beings gain those same realizations, he shall help them obtain all they need. And so in that way, they won't lack the necessities of life. So here it's talking the necessities of life. We usually think when we hear that, okay, food, clothing, shelter, medicine. Those are the four requisites. And nowadays we add computers, smartphones, cars, a flat screen. What do you call it? What are those screens that everybody wants to watch? Yeah. So, one of those screens and, everything else. And so we think those are the necessities of life. So we think of physical stuff, and he's promising everybody shall have that. It's not that he's going to go around and, kind of open a thrift store and, give those things away. Because what's the real cause of procuring the things you need to stay alive? Creating virtuous karma, being generous, sharing what you have. So he's going to teach people to do that and overcome their stinginess and miserliness and self-centeredness, because when they do that, they will create the cause to receive the necessities of life. Also here, necessities of life. Yeah, we usually think of those physical things. But, really, what are the necessities of life? We're social creatures. We want friends. We want, we want the teachings. We need spiritual guidance. Yeah. So having a good life isn't just about having all the physical things you need. It's also about having people who can help you transform your mind, to teach you how to do that, who guide you when you're doing it, to encourage you when you get discouraged. So these are all, I think, necessities of a spiritual life. Okay, the fourth great vow. So this is giving you some insight into how the medicine Buddha, when he first became a bodhisattva, how he's thinking. Okay. So I vow when I attain awakening in a future age, if there are sentient beings who tread on heterodox paths, I will cause them all to peacefully abide within the path of awakening. If there are those whose adherents of the Shravaka or Pratyeka Buddha vehicles, the hearer or solitary realizer vehicles, they will all become securely established in the universal vehicle, the Mahayana. So here his pledge is to help everybody meet the path to awakening. So he starts out first with the people in heterodox paths, the people who are following some path that doesn't work to bring you to full awakening. Okay. There's so many spiritual paths in the world, aren't there? Yeah. And so it's not that Medicine Buddha is going to go out and say, okay, we're going to have a Buddhist revival here, and I'm going to convert everybody to become a Buddhist. And rah, Buddhism, it's the best religion, everybody should join. No, that's not how we approach things. What Buddhists say is it's very good that there's a whole variety of religions. Why? Because people have different needs, different ways of thinking. A path that appeals to one person isn't going to appeal to somebody else. Yeah. And so, but slowly, by teaching some people what is suitable for them at that particular time, then their minds will slowly evolve. You can teach them more complex things. And then slowly, as their mind starts to mature spiritually, then you can lead them into the path that actually leads to liberation and full awakening. Okay, so you'll hear His Holiness Dalai Lama, he says so often, he'll talk about theistic religions, and he'll say, those people believe in God. Of course, the Buddhists don't believe in a creator being. We say karma created the universe. Or, you have your physical systems of cause and effect that created the material world. But we say things, it's the mind that is the ultimate creator when you really go back to the source. That's the Buddhist view. Yeah. So we don't believe in a creator God who manages the universe, who set down the rules, who sends some people to hell and other people to heaven and demands that, they believe in only him, not her. Yeah. So, His Holiness says, for those people, that makes sense, and that will help them to be good people. If they think that all beings are created in God's image and they have faith in God, then they want to be kind to God's creation, and they will be kind to other living beings. And so let's encourage them in that way of thinking, because that enables them to keep good ethical conduct. And based on that, they'll have a good life next time. And then, based on having a good life, then they can learn other paths and then slowly, come to see the path that actually leads to liberation and awakening. Okay, so the idea is here that, the Medicine Buddha will teach all these beings, appearing in a way that fits their mentality. So from a Buddhist viewpoint, a Buddha or a Bodhisattva can appear as a non-Buddhist, teaching a non-Buddhist doctrine, if that's what will benefit a certain group of people. Okay? So he's saying that he's going to really employ skillful means to guide everybody to the Buddhist path, not because, he's a Buddha and rah Buddhism and we all have to be Buddhists and it's our football team, and if you don't root for our football team, we know where you're going. No, that's not how we approach things, yeah? And here, even the other Buddhists, those who follow the path to liberation, not to full awakening, so those hearers and solitary realizers, yeah, so they're more interested in their own liberation. Yeah, Medicine Buddha will help them attain that, and he will also, as their minds ripen, begin to teach them the Mahayana path and get them interested in being of service to all living beings and seeking the awakening of all living beings. Okay, so he's making pretty vast intentions and resolves to really act. I mean, can you imagine how much energy that's going to take to do all of that? Yeah. It's not that you're a Buddha and you go out and you snap your fingers and everybody changes. It was like I was saying yesterday, when the pot's upside down, the sun can shine all it wants. Yeah, the Buddha can teach all he wants. But if the pot's upside down, the sun can't get in. So you have to first work really hard to get the upside down vessel to turn right side up. Yeah. And if we look at how entrenched our bad habits are, is it easy to change people's bad habits? No, it takes time and it takes perseverance. And that's why there's the perfection of fortitude that you have to really perfect on the Bodhisattva path to become a Buddha. Because you have to have the ability to stick it out with sentient beings, no matter how rude and obnoxious they are, no matter how much they throw dirt in your face and tell you you're crazy. You have to have such a great compassion that you're going to hang in there with them and lead them over, countless periods of time to really help them attain full awakening. Yeah, so that takes guts. Jumping out of a plane and free falling, with a parachute. We say, "Oh, that person's so brave." Compared to what you need to do this, that's easy. Yeah. That kind of stuff, we say, oh, the invasion in Normandy, that was so difficult. And so many people gave up their lives. And it was, difficult. And many people gave up their lives. But when you think of that as compared with sticking it out with sentient beings for innumerable eons, yeah, when they're ungrateful, and they tell you you're wrong and you're nuts and, these kinds of things, then, that you get a whole different idea of what difficulty means. Yeah, and what fortitude means and why fortitude is so important, and why, we have to build up that inner strength. Otherwise, if we don't have that inner strength, somebody doesn't say good morning to us and we're in tears because, they don't like us and nobody loves us. And we just crumble. So, fortitude is very important. Okay, so that was the fourth great vow. The fifth one, I vow that when I attain awakening in a future age, if there are limitless and boundless sentient beings who cultivate and practice the pure conduct of my teaching, I will cause them all to be able to follow perfectly the rules of conduct and be complete in the 3 cumulative precepts. Those who slander and offend will, after hearing my name, be able once again to attain purity, and they will not sink to a woeful existence. Okay, so here he's, making an unshakable resolve towards limitless and boundless sentient beings who cultivate and practice the pure conduct of his teaching. Okay, so people who are going to be holding the basic ethical conduct of avoiding the 10 non-virtues, practicing the 10 virtues. Okay. And on that basis, he says, I will cause them all to be able to follow perfectly the rules of conduct and be complete in the 3 cumulative precepts. So this is referring to the Bodhisattva's ethical conduct. Okay, we have the basic ethical conduct, the 5 lay precepts, the monastic precepts. Then a step up from that are the Bodhisattva precepts and the Bodhisattva ethical conduct. That's what he's talking about here. So within that, when we talk about the perfection of ethical conduct, there's 3 branches. The branch of abandoning negative actions, the branch of doing virtuous actions, and the branch of being benefiting sentient beings. And there's a whole list of 12 kinds of sentient beings that you're going to pay special attention to. Okay, so those are the 3 cumulative precepts. So taking them from just abandoning negativities to also creating virtue to the ethical conduct of benefiting sentient beings. And then, for those especially obnoxious disciples, I don't know about you, but like me, who slander and offend and who say, I don't feel like doing it and I have something else I'd rather do, and, I'm too tired and I'd much rather, stare out the window or play with the cat or, do something else. Okay, so he's going to appeal to those people, So we have to ask, are we one of those people who slander and offend, who are uncooperative? When we hear the Buddha's teachings, do we really take the Buddha's teachings to heart, or do we insert a lot of ifs, ands, and buts? I will follow the Buddha's teachings as long as I can keep doing fill in the blank. Okay? I will follow the Buddha's teachings, but don't ask me to give up my attachment and my anger. Or you hear a teaching and you say, that's just completely nuts. Especially you hear Mahayana teachings. I'm supposed to cherish other living beings more than myself? That's what you're teaching me? To cherish others more than myself? Nobody else has ever told me to do that. In fact, since I've been born, I've been told to do the opposite. I have to look out for myself first, because if I don't look out for myself, who's going to look out for me? And I have to protect my rights. And now my rights means whatever I want. My rights no longer means what's really written in the Constitution or the law. My rights means what I want to do. I have to protect them, and I have to stand up. And, don't you tell me to cherish other living beings more than others, especially because they're all jerks, except the ones who believe what I believe and follow me and, this kind of stuff. Okay? So he's making a pledge here. Those who slander and offend will, after hearing my name, be able once again to attain purity, and they will not sink to an unfortunate rebirth. Okay, here we start a number of things that all, I think, of the following great vows have to do, the Medicine Buddha talks about sentient beings hearing his name. Okay, so it sounds like he said, after they hear my name, once again they'll attain to purity, So here are all these obnoxious sentient beings following the wrong paths, completely uncooperative. They're going to hear the name Medicine Buddha, and whammo bango, they're going to completely change and purify everything and never have a lower rebirth. Yeah. I don't think that's really how it works. Yeah. Because cause and effect is cause and effect, and you can't jump it. You can't skip steps, okay? So when it talks about hearing my name, yeah, it makes you stop and think, what does it mean to hear the Buddha's name? Okay. So when I stop and think, hearing the Buddha's name, it isn't just hearing the name Buddha. Yeah. I mean, in my high school world history class, there was some chapter in the book about religions in other countries, and they mentioned Buddhism. Does that mean I heard the name of the Buddha and I'm going to change like that? That hasn't happened. So I think it's not just hearing the name of the Buddha with our ear. Okay. It must mean something much deeper. And, when you really hear the name of the Buddha and you think of the qualities of the Buddha and you think of the qualities that you aspire to develop on the Bodhisattva Path, I think then you're beginning to maybe understand and hear the name of the Buddha. Okay? Because we know from our own experience that some people, you just hear their name and a whole thing comes into your mind. Yeah. When you hear the name of somebody who harmed you in the past, woo, your whole mind goes completely to them. When you hear the name of somebody that you deeply care about, woo, your whole mind changes in another way. So hearing the name, I think it must mean something deeper than just hearing here, hearing in our heart. Yeah. So medicine Buddha, yeah. What does medicine Buddha mean? Or healing Buddha? So this comes back to the question that we asked at the very beginning of our course. What does it mean to heal? What is physical healing? What is spiritual healing? What is mental healing? Yeah. And Buddha, yeah, Buddha is the awakened one. What in the world is an awakened one? Yeah. It's not just some blue guy that they paint on a tanka. Yeah. We're not worshiping that. What is a healing Buddha? What is it that I admire? What is it that I want to become like? So I think it's somehow getting us to think about that in a much deeper way. So that, when you do a lot of meditation, like you do, we've just done a short retreat, 1 week on Medicine Buddha. Let's say you do a Medicine Buddha retreat for a month or for a year, and you do 4 or 6 sessions every day meditating on Medicine Buddha. Then at the end of your retreat, you hear the name Medicine Buddha. It's going to sound a lot different to you than at the beginning of the retreat when you say, I'm going to do a Medicine Buddha retreat. Something different is going to come in your mind as a result of the practice. Okay, the 6th Great Vow. I vow when I attain awakening in a future age, if there are sentient beings whose bodies are inferior, whose sense organs are impaired, who are ugly, stupid, deaf, blind, mute, bent, and lame, hunchbacked, leprous, somebody with leprosy, convulsive, somebody who has fits, insane, or who have all sorts of diseases and sufferings. Okay. That covers a wide range of people, doesn't it? And not just the people who we think of as, handicapped, but all of us suffer from diseases and sufferings, don't we? Yeah. We all have bodies, and one person needs this, one person needs a bed like this, and somebody else needs a bed like that, and somebody else needs this food, and another one needs that food, and somebody needs to sleep in a cold room to get a good sleep, and somebody else needs to sleep in a hot room to get a good sleep. And, somebody, they have the sniffles and they have to go to bed for a week. Other people have the sniffles and they just carry on. Everybody is really, really different. Okay. So he is going to appeal to all those people. And he's saying all their senses will become perfect. So then we don't need glasses. I can take out my hearing aids. Yeah. We no longer need night guards on our teeth. Okay. And we don't need bug spray, and we don't need hand lotion, and, all these kinds of things. No more ingrown toenails. Whatever it is that plagues you. Okay. He's saying all their senses will become perfect. Okay, so those who don't have a good, sense of smell or taste, they will get them. And hopefully they will then smell nice things and taste good things. Okay, and they shall have neither sickness nor suffering. So he's again, a kind of meeting sentient beings where they're at with what they need at that particular time. Yeah. So those ranging from those who, for whom we are, when we build the Buddha Hall, there are ADA, Americans for Disability Act, regs that you have to fulfill when you're building a public building. And it costs a lot more, but we will happily build that, so that people who are in wheelchairs or whatever can easily come into the hall. Yeah. When you're younger, you think, why do we have to spend so much money doing that? When you're older, you realize you're going to be the one in the wheelchair. Okay. And then it isn't, why do we have to spend so much money? It's like, let's make a really nice path so that I can be comfortable in my wheelchair getting in there. Okay. So, really making a determination to be of service and aid to all those people. Yeah. So that's why when we practice the path, if we can do some volunteer work, at a homeless shelter, at a food, what do you call it, a soup kitchen, at a home for abused women, at the Humane Society for Pets, if we, or, different hospitals and clinics and so on, if we can do some kind of work in those, either, that's your profession or as a volunteer, then we're helping to accumulate that kind of karma to be able to do that as a Buddha. Okay. So there's 12 great vows. We've done 6. And we have a few minutes for questions, and then tomorrow morning I'll do the other 6. Okay, questions, comments? Yeah.
As you were talking about the name, like Medicine Buddha's name, the thought popped in my head, we know Tara and Avalokiteshvara and all the Tibetan names. Is there a Tibetan name? For the medicine Buddha.
Oh, yeah, there is. I can't say it. It's by something Buddha. Okay? So you can look it up on the internet. I don't know how to pronounce the Sanskrit. Okay. Yeah, the Tara is Sanskrit. Okay, Manjushri is Sanskrit. Yeah, Doma is the Tibetan for Tara. And Chenrezig is the Tibetan for Avalokiteshvara, which is Sanskrit. Yeah.
At what point do bodhisattvas make these resolves or choose their vows? Or
Yeah, at what point? I'm not exactly sure. It says here, when he first entered the Bodhisattva Path. So that would be path of accumulation. But then, also sometimes later on, bodhisattvas, I forget which bhumi it's on, which ground, but they will receive a prediction of their awakening. And I think sometimes at that point, they also make these unshakable resolves.
should non-bodhisattvas be thinking of affinities or?
Yes, and in fact, that was what I was going to suggest as the topic for the discussion group this afternoon. Yeah, what kind of things or what kind of people do you feel particularly connected to that you would want to make a special unshakable resolve to be of benefit to them? Okay. And to spend some time thinking about that and to think of what kind of unshakable resolve you would make regarding those. Yeah. Maybe your attraction, and the people you feel connected with is kindergarten children. Yeah. Kids in kindergarten. So if that were, a particular group that you wanted to help, what kind of unshakable resolve would you make to be of benefit to kindergartners? Yeah. Or if your thing was, you want to help the alligators in Florida, what would you, what kind of thing would you aspire to be able to do to help those alligators attain Buddhahood and not eat too many people before they do? Okay. So, I think this would be a very good thing to think about. And think about the kinds of things you want to do when you become awakened. Yeah.
Does the mantra have a meaning or translation to it?
Yes, it isn't in there. Okay, here's the endnotes. Okay, so here you will see the Sanskrit spelling for the name of the Buddha. Okay, it's by Shaja Guru. Yeah, it means the medicine guru. And then Vaidurya is Lapis Lazuli. Okay, and there's the translation. I honor the Buddha, master of healing, the king of lapis light, Tathagata, Arhat, perfectly enlightened Buddha, saying to the healing, to the supreme healing, hail. Or instead of hail, may it come about. Svaha means more, may it come about. Okay.